Hey guys, today what I'd like to talk to you about is that good writers and presenters can capture the attention of their audience by doing a couple of things, by sharing a startling statistic or by asking a rhetorical question. So, first, I'd like you to watch me as I model my thinking about how I can share a startling statistic related to my problem, which is homeless children and access to education. So, the first place I'm going to go here is I'm going to go to my problem chart where I definitely have some statistics and numbers and facts related to my problem. And one of the first things my eye was drawn to is the statistic here from my article, Children and Youth Experiencing Homelessness. That author shares that in the 2018 to 19 school year, 1.5 million students between the ages of 6 and 18 experienced homelessness. So that's not just 1.5 million children. This is just the students between the ages of 6 and 18. And that's a huge number. And I know that's a huge number. I do think that will startle my audience. But what I'm wondering is, would it help if I put this number into context so that my audience could better understand just how significant the problem is? So what I did was I actually did a quick Google search. What states have a population of approximately 1.5 million people? And it came up that the state of Idaho does. So I thought maybe that's a way to really capture the attention of my audience is by giving the statistic that in the 2018 to 19 school year, there were 1.5 million students between the ages of 6 and 18 who were homeless. And then adding that little bit of extra context that this is approximately the number of people who live in the entire state of Idaho. So now I've got these ideas bouncing around in my head. So now my next step is I'm going to go back to the graphic organizer that I shared with you today, and I'm actually going to practice crafting this hook using a startling statistic and putting it in context. So what I might write here is I might write, um, there are I don't want to say whopping, but there are a shocking 1.5 million homeless students in the United States um, between the ages of 6 and 18. Noticed I didn't put my year here, so I'm actually going to go back and I'm going to say just, um, it was probably 18 to 19, that was just a year ago. Just one short year ago, there were shocking 1.5 million homeless students in the United States between the ages of 6 and 19. This is roughly the population of the entire state of Idaho. Notice that my hook is short. I just want to capture my audience's attention, reel them in, so that then I can explain my problem and solution in more detail. So that's one way you can hook your audience is by offering this startling statistic and kind of putting it into some sort of context your audience can understand. Now I'd like you to watch me as I model my thinking about how I can ask and even answer a rhetorical question to capture the attention of my audience. Now, a rhetorical question is a question that is asked for dramatic effect. It's asked to make a point. You're not really looking for an answer, but you're throwing that question out there to make people kind of think deeply or think for the first time about a particular topic. In my case, I'm going to pose a rhetorical question, and I think I'm also going to try to pose a possible answer. Again, just to prove a point. So I'm going to see if I can come up with a couple of possible rhetorical questions related to homelessness and access to education. So I might start with, um, what comes to mind when you think a homeless person? Here's the rhetorical question. I'm going to pose a possible answer because I really want to get my audience to start thinking. And in this case, I want my audience to start thinking about stereotyping and labeling. So I might say, if you are like many people, you might be envisioning someone in tattered clothes standing on the side of the road with a cardboard sign. So I've asked the question and I've kind of answered it. And if I use this rhetorical question, I probably have to go on to provide a little bit more information where I might say something like, um, you might be surprised to learn that just over 33% of homeless people are children under the age of 18. Okay, that's one rhetorical question. Where this is the rhetorical question right here, but I'm also posing a possible answer. Or the other thing that I was kind of thinking about comes from the I Was Homeless article by Kristen Lewis, where she opens by saying, where do you live? So if I pose that as my rhetorical question, now I have to kind of craft an answer to prove a point. So I might say something like, as you consider the answer to that question, you might conjure up um, images of a warm, safe, inviting home um, where you live with your family. Probably here. And I could say something like, for millions of other Americans, however, seemingly simple question, or the seemingly straightforward question, I'll say seemingly simple. The seemingly simple question actually drums up feelings of fear, instability, and dread. So in this case, here is my rhetorical question. And then I'm just kind of posing a response to that. Even though a rhetorical question doesn't ask for an answer, I want to add to this dramatic effect by posing an answer that, because I really kind of want to point out people's tendency to stereotype or to label by kind of answering my rhetorical question. Then what I would do is I would decide which of those I want to use, and I'm going to add it to my graphic organizer. So now I've got two possible hooks for my Bay Talk. I've got a startling statistic put in context, and I've got a rhetorical question and a potential rhetorical answer. And those are two ways I might be able to begin my Bay Talk. All right, have a great day.